Hi, this is Maria. Welcome to my art channel. Coming up now is a quick preview of today's project. So in the next 20 minutes, I'll be making Christmas cards just like this, or something like it. You can use your own text, your own message, or you don't have to use any message at all. I think they look lovely both ways. So what I did was, I'm actually making 8 Christmas cards all in one go. So in the next 20 minutes, I'll have 8 Christmas cards done. You could even do more if you used a larger sheet of paper and you didn't tape it off like I have done. So I've used ordinary masking tape to divide this piece of paper into 8 sections. But one little tip I'll give you: if you use the masking tape as it is, it will actually rip the paper when you take it off, when you peel it off. So I use the masking tape. I would put the masking tape, tear it off and put strips of it onto fabric or onto a chair or even onto my jeans, and then pull it off, and that makes it less sticky, and then I use it. So that's why it looks a bit old there as it's taped on around the edges. But the idea is, just to take the stickiness out of it so it won't rip the paper at the end. I have bought artist tape, which is for this purpose, and that has ripped the paper as well. So I'm just using ordinary masking tape here. So that's what you need. You just need some masking tape. You need, I am using acrylic paints, any paints will do. Some watercolor paper I used here, but you could use cartridge or any kind of strong paper or acrylic paper, and that's all you need, is scissors, and that's what you'll need for this project. So just getting into it, I've mixed up some paint, mixed up the pink and some deep blue, and I'm really at this stage using a large brush and getting rid of the white on the page. So I'm covering each square and putting down basically a foundational color on those squares. So I have basically that, and I'm letting that kind of dry off now a little bit. And now I've decided to add on some blue, some additional blue into each one. But in each square, I'm not doing the same thing in each. I'm calling them squares, but they're triangles or rectangles. In each one, I'm using the colors in a different spot. So that's giving them a little bit of variety. I'm not making them all exactly identical, and I'm working quickly. So here you can use, I'm using white gesso, but white acrylic paint is perfect, any kind of paint. And as you can see, I've moved on to using a smaller brush. So here I'm just putting in the white of the berries, and I'm just simply dotting that in. And now I'm putting in just the outlines of holly. So the way I do this, I remember learning this when I was at school, that holly, it's just got these type of shapes. They're lines that are like, say on the right hand side, it's like a series of C's, the letter C's, one beneath the other, and then reverse on the other side. It's like 3 little C's on the right and 3 little C's on the left, and joining them all up together. So it's just those little flicking marks, and I'm not being precise, and I have speeded this video up just for it to save time, but really this is just mark making. I'm going very quickly, I'm not being precise. The whole idea of this is just to be relaxed and continue painting the way I always paint. Because the danger is when I'm working very, very small, I want to get more precise and more technical, but really my idea is just keep it easy and keep this simple. Sometimes I do this, I use the side of the brush to make marks and different kind of marks and impressions. So this would be kind of like branches or marks in the background. I'm kind of rolling the brush, the side of the brush, excuse my elbow there, kind of spreads the paint around a little bit. So I'm going to be going over this in a wash of, I'll be using the greens and the reds for the berries over these marks. And I'm spreading them around. They're quite wet, so I'm spreading them around with my finger, just adding more impressions of the berries, multiplying the berries really by dipping my finger into the paint and spreading them around. And I used the reason I don't normally make cards. This is the first time I've done videos making cards. But, here I'm done with the hairdryer. Really, really handy. If you have an old hairdryer, just keep it near your painting. And it's just very, very handy for getting that bone dry before you start using other colours. So here I'm just adding kind of a golden colour. It reminds me of Christmas, kind of Christmas lights and, the golden reflections. And the reason I decided to make them is because it's the one time of the year where it's just, I love the message of Jesus and what he came to do in the world. And it's one time of the year where I can spread that good message. And, Christmas cards is a lovely way of letting people know you're thinking about them and sending them the message of Jesus, the message of hope. And the holly is also very symbolic. And I remember looking this up years ago, the meaning of these Christian symbols and what was the meaning of holly for Christmas. And I thought it's just lovely. The holly, the green of the holly leaves, as you can see me just putting those in here. The holly symbolizes the crown of thorns and the spikes that went into Jesus's head. And the red berries are a symbol of the drops of blood that he shed on the day he was put to death on the cross. So it's lovely. I think holly is cheerful. It reminds me of the good message, but it also reminds me of what Jesus came to do on the earth. So, and I put messages in. Now at the very end, you'll see me writing a message by hand, the text by hand, but you could just, what I went to afterwards, and I just copied, and some on the computer, I just copied some messages, and you could do that. You could print them off, cut them out, and stick them onto the card underneath. If you want, if you've got good handwriting, you might like to just write the messages, or if you want to copy and paste some text onto your cards, that's lovely. I think they look lovely that way as well. Or you could just make these little picture frames, these little 8, large enough to cover an entire Christmas card and not have any message on the front of the card, and put a message inside. So really, it's just up to your own preference. And here, just working away, building up layers of colour. I like the idea of doing the holly. I thought of doing other things, but I love painting wildflowers. I love painting foliage. So this kind of really ties in with my own work. So it's just really, for me, it's actually doing little miniature pictures, miniature paintings, and just a way of sending my little miniature paintings out to people at Christmas time. And you don't have to be good at art to do this, because really this is quick, and I think they just look really pretty. You'll see at the end when they're all divided up, and when you stick them onto card paper to make the cards, they look unique and they look individual, and I think they'll stand out on anybody's mantelpiece or wherever they put their Christmas cards. I think they will stand out, and whoever gets them, and I would hope that they would think, look, this was a handmade card. It's an extra special thing to get at Christmas. In a way, it's like giving somebody a gift. It's a bit more than giving somebody a card. It's actually giving them a framed painting of your own. So it's a gift and a card all rolled into one. And I see a lot of card makers on YouTube and places like that, and that is their attitude nowadays, is that you make a card and the card is more like the gift. The card is a gift in itself. So again, I'm back in using the white. As I said, I bought white gesso because I use so much white paint that it was just easy for me to buy a big container of white gesso and use that, but just white acrylic paint is perfect. It's the same thing. And again, I'm just continuing with those reverse C's. Well, C's on the right hand side and on the left hand side, reverse C's under one another, just to make those the outlines of the green holly leaves that I've put down. And I'm using a thinner brush at this stage. And again, I'm not being precise. I'm using those little swirling marks. And the whole idea is just to be free with your mark making and not to get too bogged down in detail. And here I'm adding little highlights onto those berries, you know, to add a little bit of sparkle to them and make them stand out as if they're, you know, reflecting, there's light reflecting on them. So if you like this video, please subscribe and share, and you'll get notifications then of when my next video is loaded up. So adding just little dots here, they're just little sparkles. And as Christmas, it is that time of the year. Some people don't like Christmas and they think it is not, that, you know, that it has become, it is not really bringing the original message, which was the Christian message, and they think it's become very kind of hijacked by consumerism. But again, you know, I think it's just lovely at this time of the year to have a festival. And I love the lights, I must say. I love the Christmas lights when they go up around the city. I think they just bring joy to me anyway. They're so pretty. I suppose being a visual person, I just like looking at the colour and the lights and the sparkle, especially on the very, very dark days. And as well, it is a time for family, and we don't have a lot of these festivals during the year. So it is a time to think about other people and reach out to other people. So yeah, just working on with this. Coming up, I will be peeling off the masking tape from around these 8 little squares. And just to tell you to be very careful when you're peeling the masking tape off. I did rip one of them, but it doesn't matter. I just stuck it back on. The little bit I ripped off, I stuck it back on again. But yeah, just take it easy when you're peeling off the masking tape, that you don't go very slowly so that you don't rip your picture. But as I said, all is not lost if you do rip it, because I think it's nice that the edges of these are a bit uneven, and sometimes the paint bleeds under the masking tape, and that's okay as well. I think that makes the little pictures look more homemade, and I like the homemade look, because the shop bought cards are perfect. So it's lovely, I think, when something looks irregular and homemade. So I just encourage you, don't try and be too precise, just leave them free. And if they're uneven, and if you do handwriting on them and the handwriting isn't perfect, that's all lovely, because they will be unique. And they'll stand out. When you send something that's unique to somebody, it'll stand out. and they'll be delighted that you took the trouble to make something for them. So again, yeah, using a thinner brush just to do the final details here. So I used just ordinary cartridge paper. I had an old sketchbook and I pulled the pages out. They were the right size, but you can buy just sheets of strong paper in any shop, just something slightly heavier than ordinary computer paper, and fold them in two, and then have a bit of glue. I forgot to say that at the beginning. You need a little bit of glue, and you can use the glue then to stick them on. A Pritt stick probably would be very useful. And don't be, just another little warning, I put too much glue on the back of some of mine, and it didn't work out very well, so be sparing with your use of glue. You don't want to wet the cards, over wet them. So again, just adding little dots and just to bring in that sparkle and the little marks there in the background. So I think I'm ready to, so I clipped that on just onto my table easel, just so that I could get it on camera, as normally I would do something like this on the table. And as I say, when you're peeling this stuff off, be careful, because I ripped it here, as you can see, just that little bit, but it was very easy to stick back on again. And again, I was trying to rip it off. I was aware I was on camera, so I was not being careful ripping this masking tape off. So that's why probably was working too fast. So just be careful, as I say, when you're taking this off. Here's another little rip, but it doesn't matter. I'll be cutting around these again. And as I say, with the scissors, so things don't have to be too perfect. Now I made another one as well. Before this, I made another holly picture, and I didn't divide it into the 8 squares. I didn't use masking tape. I just used the entire sheet of paper and painted the holly designs all over it. And I cut those up as well, so you don't have to use the masking tape to divide it up. You can just do one all over holly picture and cut that one up. So you'll see an example of that in a few minutes. So just using an ordinary scissors. If you want to be more precise, you could use a knife to cut these, but and a ruler. But this is perfectly adequate for me. I don't want to be perfect about these. I like the fact that they're a little bit uneven and that they look more handmade, handcrafted. You could also sign them, put a little sign. And another idea I thought of afterwards is, you know, if you have time to do a little bit more with them, you could use a gold pen and put some little gold spirals or sparkles into them, or you could use glitter. Just sprinkle, you know, put a bit of glue down in patches and sprinkle glitter over them. And so this is an example of one without a border that I did earlier, and just cut those into squares. And if you don't use the masking tape, you could get 12 or 16 Christmas cards out of one sheet of paper. So here I am going really quickly writing this, and I used a red marker, which probably wasn't, a pink marker, which probably wasn't the best idea, but I think they're fine. And you'll see coming up in a few minutes this is what they look like printed off. So hope you enjoyed it. God bless. Talk to you soon.